Late good evening, friends. Let us dive into another case law, which is the case of PA Imandar versus State of Maharashtra, is in the syllabus of Advocate on Court examination. Friends, it is a landmark decision by the Supreme Court of India, which was decided in 2005, and it addresses the issue of the right of private unaided educational institutions to admit students without government intervention and set their own admission criteria. Facts of the case. The case involved the challenges to the Maharashtra unaided private professional education institution regulation of admission and fees Act 2003. The Act imposed a regulatory framework on private professional educational institutions, mandating that a certain percentage of seats be filled through a common entrance test and that the institutions follow a government prescribed admission process. Petitioners, represented by the private educational institutions, argued that the provisions of the Act violated their right to establish and administer their educational institutions under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution, which grants the right to carry on trade or business, including in the field of education. Key issues: whether the state can regulate admission process in private unaided educational institutions, whether the reservation of seats and imposition of a common entrance test are consistent with the fundamental rights of educational institutions. Honorable Supreme Court gave its decision. The court ruled in favor of the private institutions to some extent, holding that private unaided institutions have the right to establish and manage their institution. However, it also upheld the government's interest in regulating admissions to ensure merit-based selection and equal opportunity for all students. So, key observations in the judgment include: as far as Article 19(1)(g) is concerned, the court held that the right to establish and administer educational institutions is part of the fundamental rights under Article 19, subclause 1(g). But it is not an absolute right. The state has the power to regulate the process to ensure fairness and to promote excellence in education. As far as admission process is concerned, the court acknowledged the right of private institutions to admit students. It upheld the government's right to regulate a certain percentage of admissions through a common entrance test to ensure merit-based selection and prevent the commercialization of education. As far as reservation is concerned, the court allowed for some degree of reservation, but emphasized that it should not be excessively burdensome on the private institutions, particularly in the context of professional courses. So, this judgment struck a balance between the autonomy of private educational institutions and need for the state to regulate education to promote social justice and academic standards. So, friends, the impact of the judgment is the judgment played a pivotal role in shaping the legal landscape for private educational institutions in India. It clarified the extent to which the state could regulate private institutions while respecting their autonomy. It also influenced the debate on the commercialization of education and the balance between merit and social justice through reservations in admissions. That's all.